Hey there, welcome. This is The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go! Well, dude, this is... If I sound excited, it's because I know what's coming for the next 3 hours. And there is so much crazy stuff. And some of it's dumb, some of it's just bizarre, all of it's compelling, that I had to start cutting stuff from the show today. And I was like, well, we can do this tomorrow. We can do this tomorrow. We can do this tomorrow. I have half of Wednesday's show already planned. There's so much goofy stuff going on today. This is hilarious. Like, how easy is it to be a talk show host in 2024? This is unbelievable. So we're going to start with the first big fun story, and Anthony Russo's back from the Truth Will Set You Free podcast to talk about my favorite trial of the century, Hunter Biden. Anthony Russo, welcome back.
How's it going?
Going pretty good. I find myself watching a lot of court TV this year.
Yeah, I feel like it's O.J. Simpson all over again. Just can't wait to see what kind of tomfoolery and ballyhoo we've got going on.
All right, so what's the latest on the trial here? Did they even do anything today?
Well, yeah, so they've had closing statements today, it appears. Hunter Biden was potentially going to actually take the stand, but from what I'm hearing, there was no way for him to look good. And I think that they did not want to run the risk of it getting any worse. So they made their closing statements today. They mentioned, the defense has essentially found a way to try to deflect the blame on everybody else, including the gun shop owner. They've also had questions and testimony. They've tried to paint the picture that Hunter Biden wasn't high that week, essentially, and they're using the wording on the application to try to create reasonable doubt. And that's been kind of the final goal of the last push for the defense. Well,
I think if this trial has any legacy at all, it will be these other plot lines that intersect with this. I think, in the annals of history, no one will care about the Hunter Biden gun charge, but they may care about some of these other financial transactions that the guy was having. They may care about some of these interpersonal relationships that were discussed in a tangent to this case, and including a lot of stuff that we learned about his baby mama situation, and none of it's good for him.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, all of this was information for many of us once, the laptop started to become real news, which was pretty much day one. But what you just highlighted about all the interpersonal communications, the drug dealers, the relationships, so I thought that was all Russian disinformation. That's what I was told. So I think it's confusing that now we're hearing all these things that we've been saying for 2.5, however long now, almost 4 years. And now they're just now admitting it's truth because there's a lawsuit regarding Hunter Biden buying a gun while he was high.
Well, we're also stuck with some weird paradoxes because of what you just brought up. The FBI actually had to verify the laptop and enter it into evidence. It's like, hang on a second. Isn't this the same FBI that got the laptop from the dude in Delaware and then sat on it for a year and didn't do anything until Rudy Giuliani blew it up? Yeah, same FBI.
Yeah, exactly. And it's super. I mean, if people can't actually see the way that the Department of Justice has handled Donald Trump in comparison to anything having to do with the Biden family, it shows how it's blatantly obvious that it's weaponized to help the Biden administration. It's being actually used for that. And it was being used for that even prior to Trump prior to Trump leaving office. I think it's just a fascinating trial. Like you said, it's more than just a gun charge. It's the way that they're spinning the story. They're spinning this whole thing that, documents aren't written up correctly and that, he actually wasn't a drug addict at that time, even though he was still going through it. It might have been confusing to know if he was even a drug user. It's like, where are they coming up with this level of confusion? Meanwhile, you've got Jill Biden in the front row the whole time taking notes, which some people say is somewhat threatening the juror. Like, it feels like it could be threatening the jurors to make sure that they see, like, hey, First Lady's there. Like, you got to let some stuff slide. Oh, wait. I thought nobody was above the law.
This is so interesting because I'm waiting for the other half of the country to go, okay, that laptop's legit. And the real concern here is, and this is your word of the day, Tammy, who likes to thank me for the words of the day, compromat. Compromat is the term that they use for getting dirt on your enemies so that they can either blackmail you or exert influence on you. Compromat. And he gave away so much of that in just the evidence that was presented in this case. This guy is a liability to national security.
Oh, absolutely. And then when you think about, just the way that they describe the story, it's something out of a TV show. So you've got Hallie Biden, which, like, who is that? If people don't really know, that's Bo's ex-wife, wife, widow, whatever you want to call it, who he had a relationship with, as a reminder to people that thought, again, that the laptop was false.
Well, it wasn't just a sexual relationship. He also got her hooked on crack.
That too, which, if anybody's going to be a really solid piece of evidence for the defense to show as knowing what was going on, she was the one that supposedly threw away the gun. There's multiple different variations where the daughter said the gun was just fine a couple days before, and then she said it was she did the unlocking. Nobody really knows what happened, probably because she was high as well, but she threw away the gun. But they're saying, how is it that Hunter was high at the time, or how was he a drug addict at the time when he was the one that told Hallie to go get the gun she threw away? And it's like, we're literally chasing the tail of a bunch of addicts trying to remember a story from 2018, but I'm pretty sure it's evident he was still using drugs at the time. And they say, well, he was with his family. They're actually using the defense that he was with his family around that time, so that's not the behavior. When he's around his family, typically he wasn't doing drugs. So that's your best defense. That's what we're sweating. I think we all saw him in the White House sweating bullets when they found the cocaine a couple days later. Pretty sure that he still does drugs, or he did allegedly does drugs when his family around. It's like, this is such a joke.
Of course he does. He looked like a squirrel eating an acorn.
A big time. He looked like a Dallasite on a concrete cowboy at 1 a.m. on a Saturday. That's what he looked like.
All right, you get a round of applause for that one. Anthony Russo, tell them how they can find more of that wit on your podcast.
Truth will set you free, USA. Easiest way to find me on all the different social media platforms.
And don't at me, people. That was just a joke. Thank you very much, Anthony Russo, for being on the James Show again. Comments on this, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Have you been keeping up with the trial? Because I've been keeping up with some of these little side stories, and I got details. I got receipts coming up next. This is the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Bob Lavelle, Home Marketing Services, joining the James Show. Listen, I'm fired up today. How are you doing over there getting people out of the rent race into a home?
We've got several of your listeners that are closing on their home this month, and every one of them are new homes that they're getting into, James. But I want to highlight today something that we don't do a lot of, but we do some pre-owned. And we have a client who has a pre-owned home that is going on the market, and it just had a huge price reduction. It's in a great area, the Little Elm area. It's a fairly new home built by one of my favorite builders. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, just about 2,500 square feet. And the price was just reduced from $469 to $429. That's a lot of house for $429. And your listeners that are saying, I need that 4-bedroom and the 3 full baths and the 2-car garage in a great neighborhood, and I can get it at $429, they might want to give us a call today. And I think we're going to do an open house on it this weekend. I guarantee you this house will not last. But
you had a price drop on a brand new house in Little Elm.
Well, not brand new, but it's fairly new.
Okay.
It's one of our pre-owned clients that's upgrading. But this one, anybody that's looking for something that's really well built and really nice in a 4-bedroom, 3 full baths at $429 in that area, the market, the comps, even when it was at the $469. But this seller, they need to get rid of it quick to get into something else. So a huge price drop.
All right, you can go be Cole Beasley's neighbor up in Little Elm. 972-392-9595. 972-392-9595. You find Bob at blessyourheart.com or 972-392-9595. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, James.
Hey there, welcome. This is the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP. Taylor Swift. Garrett, have you gone rogue? Did Bruce approve this? Okay, it's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, if the boss man says play it, we'll play it. Just, that's all right. I'm a fan. That's fine. Do you think it's weird that the president has never met his 5-year-old granddaughter? Do you think that's that weird? Could you imagine having a grandchild that you didn't meet? Now, it's one thing if your kid decides they're going to, I don't know, join the military, and while they're out on some leave in Taipei, they knock up some chick and you don't find out till after he gets back. And, if it's something complicated like that, but a situation like this dude has access to Air Force One. He can be in any American city in a matter of a few hours. And in fact, that's his normal day. It's quite often he just wakes up, he gets on that plane, he goes to somewhere. He goes to some like Indianapolis or Tempe, Arizona, or just some random place, gives a speech, gives a little fundraiser, and flies back. He could fly out to Arkansas to meet his daughter, to meet Navy Roberts. That's her name, by the way, Navy. Is that weird? Could you do that? I don't think I could. Here's where it gets even worse. Hunter Biden hasn't met the daughter either. Not in person. They had some court-forced Zoom calls for this guy with his own daughter. His own daughter. Could you just disregard one of your offspring, whether it was an accident or not, like that? I doubt you could. I couldn't. I don't think Garrett could, even though he doesn't have any kids. Even he knows. That's weird, bro. You got to screw loose. Like a moral, ethical, borderline, you got to be a sociopath to not want to see your own kid for 5 years. And don't give me the garbage that, well, he didn't know it was his for the first couple of years, and then there was like court cases, and so lawyers will tell you, you're not supposed to. Okay, well, all the court cases are over, been over for a year. What's your excuse now? And we have learned within just the last month that there's no way he didn't know this was his kid, because she wasn't a one-night stand. She wasn't a one weekend stand, or he was just hanging out, and rolling between chicks. I'll do this chick for a week or two, and then I'll go find the next one. And then after I burn her, I'll go get another one. No, he liked her so much, and they dated so much that he gave her a job at his hedge fund, Rosemont Seneca, while she was working. And she was not, I don't know if she was qualified for it, because this was her job before that. But she was working in D.C., and she went from that job to Rosemont Seneca, where she worked for, it was estimated, a year. They had a continuing relationship, sexually and otherwise, for a year. She worked for him in his office. And this isn't like a giant Walmart supercenter. This is Rosemont Seneca. It's a hedge fund. There's a handful of people that work there. Everybody that works there. The janitor that works there. There's fewer people working there than for the Dallas Cowboys, or probably for the nearest McDonald's. So this idea that when the story came out, you don't remember this, because I didn't remember this. And if I didn't remember it, you certainly didn't remember it. Just playing with you. He lied in his book about not knowing who she was. Now, I have audio because Hunter was nice enough to read the audio version of his book. But listen to this. This is the story he tells in his book. Now, remember, he starts dating her. Of course, he's dating other people. He's, kind of in relationships, kind of married. That's not really part of the problem for Hunter there. He has other moral qualms. This is how he referred to her in his book.
And the other woman I'd been with during Rampage since my divorce were hardly the dating type. We would satisfy our immediate needs and little else. I'm not proud of it. It's why I would later challenge in court the woman from Arkansas who had a baby in 2018 and claimed the child was mine. I had no recollection of our encounter. That's how little connection I had with anyone. I was a mess, but a mess I've taken responsibility for.
So he's just a lying sack of garbage to say that. Hey, all you women's libbers, all the feminists, third wave, fourth wave, whatever, war on women types, all you with the pink hats. Here he is treating a woman just like some sort of the bodily fluid receptacle, keeping her around as a maid girl for an entire year. And then after he knocks her up, denies paternity, denies even knowing who she is, just starts lying his face off. But Trump's the bad guy that hates women. Oh, but Team Red, they're not good for women. We're good for... No, you don't. You don't care. But could you do that to the mother of one of your children? He knew at the time that he said that he typed those words out, that it went through his publisher, and then they're like, all right, you got to read the audiobook. He knew that was a lie when he said it. And it's not like he said that about a political opponent. It's not like he said that about a person who tried to kill him, or a person who lied to him, or a person who slashed his tires. He said that about his child's mother. Oh, he liked her enough when she was putting out and when she was a convenient relief for him, so much so that he put her on the payroll and kept her around, gave her an office and probably a fake job. I mean, what did she really do there at a hedge fund? So he can keep her as a kept girl for a year. But when she comes down with his kid, he abandons her and lies about her like it's not going to come out. And here's that word again, compromat. I was telling you in the last segment, the word of your word of the day is compromat. It comes from Russian. It's compromising material. It's kind of a word we made up because the Soviet spies were always trying to get that bad information, that information that can be collected, stored, traded, and used strategically across all domains: political, electoral, extortion, blackmail. Oh, you had it all with this guy. And I don't see anything redeeming about this guy. I don't see anything redeeming about this family. Look, all of us probably know someone pretty close to us that has battled with addiction. I ain't never seen that. I had a roommate who decided that he was going to relapse on meth. And his girlfriend, they went on bender, and I didn't see him for months. One day they cleaned up. You know why? Because she got pregnant. And they're not terrible people. They thought, well, I guess the party's over. This isn't about us anymore. We've now introduced a third party, a baby, into this situation. And you know what? They've been clean since. So it is possible for people to have addiction issues and be in the throes of meth or whatever it is, or crack cocaine. And a lot of people, when they have that baby, it snaps them out of it. You've seen those stories too. He didn't do that. He's worse than that. Garbage. And his dad's not telling him to do anything better. His dad's not over his shoulder going, you better not deny paternity. You better not put that in your book. You better take that out of your book. You better go and have your book republished. His dad's not saying that. His mom's not saying that. Jill Biden's not saying that. No one around him's saying that. Garbage human beings. 800-288-9227. 800-288-WBAP. This is The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Her name is Lundun Roberts. She will be more easily known to the public as Hunter Biden's baby mama, but she has a book that she has written due for release in August, and she has been doing some interviews to try and hype up some promotion for it. The book's called Out of the Shadows: My Life Inside the World and the Wild World of Hunter Biden, and it's got some good stuff in it. According to some of the interviews I've already seen. Now I'm going to share some of that info with you, but in her quest, to get more publicity for this book, it's going to be interesting to see who allows her to have an interview. Because I remember back in the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearing days, CBS News gave a whole hour to Julie Swetnick, some woman who just made up a sexual assault claim against Brett Kavanaugh. With absolutely no evidence. And at the end, they ran a disclaimer like, we couldn't prove any of this stuff. We just ran it anyway, is what the disclaimer said. Is Lundun going to get an hour-long special? Of course she's not, because none of this makes him look good. So I saw a clip. I'll walk you through how I found it. I think it was on Friday, right after I got done with you on the James Show. I saw this clip from Lundun Roberts on Piers Morgan, and I had to do more digging.
Have you ever heard from either President Biden or the First Lady directly?
No.
Not a phone call or a letter or anything?
No.
Do you find that surprising?
No, I don't really. I feel like that's something that, they've waited for Hunter to step up before they step into.
Okay, now ever since she's gotten pregnant with this dude, she's been abandoned by Hunter. But this woman still is trying to not torch the relationship with him. She wants him to be in her daughter's life. She doesn't think he's an inherently bad guy, just a good guy who's done bad things. And you can tell either she really likes this guy or she's playing this role because there's a lot of resources at the end of this tunnel. And I don't want to be too damn cynical here, but I found a longer interview that she just did with Megyn Kelly over the weekend. And this is her talking about how severe and far gone the drug use was by Hunter, as if we didn't already know. But it's being confirmed here by people who are sympathetic.
There's actually a chapter in the book that I reflected on a night that it got pretty dark and it got pretty bad, and I worried for Hunter's life. And I speak about that. I'm very candid about it in the book, and even. His addiction was so bad. I think I even say in the book that, I wonder if Hunter remembers that night. I wonder if he even knows, what exactly he went through.
Mm-hmm. What was the drug? I mean, I know there's been a couple different ones with him.
The drug that he was using was crack cocaine.
Right. We all kind of knew that, but it really does confirm it when someone look, it does matter because she's sympathetic. She's a pro Hunter Biden source. She just has some of the info that a lot of people would be blackmailing him with if it wasn't already public. But this is the part where I found out that she actually worked with Hunter for about a year. I just pulled a little clip of this whole story though, but just to confirm what I was telling
you wound up working for him. You met. We talked about how you met, but then you wound up working as an assistant at his Rosemont Seneca company. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right. So now when I play that right next to the old Hunter Biden's clip from his book.
And the other woman I'd been with during rampages since my divorce were hardly the dating type. We would satisfy our immediate needs and little else. I'm not proud of it. It's why I would later challenge in court the woman from Arkansas who had a baby in 2018 and claimed the child was mine. I had no recollection of our encounter. That's how little connection I had with anyone. I was a mess, but a mess I've taken responsibility for.
No, you haven't taken responsibility for. You fought the lawsuit, and if you would have won the lawsuit, then you would have had a daughter that's floating around in some trailer park in Arkansas that's been completely abandoned by her millionaire father and her president granddad. These are terrible people. Now check this out. Don't let me get going with my conspiracy theorist flag out there, but take off your tinfoil hats and listen to this.
Tell us what happened with your cell phones the night you found out you were pregnant.
I had two cell phones, which is also, I still do to this day, but I had two cell phones at the time because my Arkansas phone had a cellular data that didn't pick up at the place that I was living in DC. So I got a different, I got Sprint and AT&T.
Yeah, I think in Arkansas they still have 2G. That's why they had to do that.
To even out the data and everyone could reach me. But that night, they both at the same time crashed. And in front of me and my friends.
And what did the screens look like when they were crashing?
You know how they'll go like black with those like lines and stuff across them, the green and purplish looking lines.
It looks like a total meltdown, like a total meltdown. So, and you the next day you go and get a new phone, right? And you are able to like link it up with your cloud. And what do you discover?
Yes. A lot of stuff is gone from my iCloud had it not been backed up or whatever, but just about everything with Hunter was gone.
So what do you think happened there?
That is still up in the air. That's something that I can't explain. I don't know exactly what happened.
Oh yeah, jeepers, just a coincidence. There's nothing suspicious about that at all. If we were in a sane world, with a media that wasn't a bunch of dishonest political hacks, that would be the top story in America for the next year. Unless she just threw them in the microwave with her popcorn, it is not a coincidence. It's not a possible coincidence that they both just went dead at the same time. Some outside actors, probably government influence there. You know, this is the Bidens did this. Take her phones, kill them, wipe her iCloud drive, and wipe the backups of anything that might implement Hunter, that might incriminate, Hunter, and then you can turn them back on. Oh, really? That's a neat trick. Nothing suspicious there. No, great family. Good family you got there. All on the up and up. Look out for Trump, though. He's a bad guy. He's really corrupt. Not these guys. They're totally fine. Wiping out the baby's mama's phone, denying paternity. To where, dude, if he won the case, he would never have to pay a cent to this woman. And he did this to her. And then he abandoned her and he kicked her out. He kicked her out of her job. He kicked her back to Arkansas. Doesn't take her calls, hadn't seen her. And you learned in the last segment that Joe Biden and Jill Biden hadn't met their grandkid. You know what? Hunter hadn't met her either.
Has he ever met her face to face in person?
No, he is not. Hunter has a lot on his plate right now. And I know that's also me giving him grace. And I'll continue to do so until the day I die.
Has the president ever met his grandchild, Navy?
No.
Have you had any communications whatsoever from Navy's grandma, Jill Biden, or grandpa, Joe Biden?
No, we have not had any communication.
Yeah, screw that, baby. It's just our family. That's all. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. I know it's a Monday. You don't have to be all bummed out about it. It's a hilarious news cycle, at least. Since The James Show started, we actually have an update. on the Hunter Biden trial. It is just about ramped up because jury deliberations have already started. Ooh. Let's talk to my lawyer friend, Jeremy Rosenthal, about that. Jeremy, I'm surprised. This feels really quick. They're already in jury deliberations. Wow.
Yeah, there's not a lot that's too complicated about this charge. If anything, the feds like multi-party conspiracies. They like rounding up 30 defendants at a time, 50 defendants, international drug rings, human trafficking, that kind of stuff. This is, they're proving that somebody lied on a form, and that's kind of small potatoes for them, and they're pretty good at it. They proved it, I think, 8 ways till Sunday, and I think the jury's going to tell them that tomorrow.
So you think this could wrap up tomorrow?
I'd be surprised if it didn't. I thought it might wrap up today, that they sent the jury out. I think they deliberated for maybe an hour and a half. I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, the issue was Hunter Biden an addict at the time that he filled out that form? Or did he use drugs? He was in rehab 11 days before. He identifies in a book as an addict. I mean, he's being prosecuted in large part because he's really owned his addiction. He's been very public about it, but that's one of the things that the government has to prove. And they called ex-wife, ex-love interests, all kind of go in the same place. So
the baby mama was up there.
You just never know. Yeah, you never know what a jury's going to do. So,
well, I see. Yeah. I feel lost on this timetable because I don't understand how this case lasted 18 minutes. So it might be 18 more days for all I know. But it doesn't sound like it. I guess we're not shocked that he didn't take the stand.
No, I mean, you wouldn't think that he would. I mean, and this is kind of where, as a criminal lawyer, you got to look at your client's problem from 40,000 feet. Sure, he could take the stand, and maybe he helps himself. He probably doesn't. I mean, the jury's just as likely to not like him, just to think he's a phony, as they are to like him. I mean, he could go up there and charm them and woo them, and they may fall in love with him, but probably not. And then if he says the wrong thing and the cross-exam goes sideways, now we're talking about tax problems, and now we're talking about laptops and foreign business entanglements. And you know what? Just cut your losses and move on. And that's probably what his lawyers told him. And I think it was the right choice for him not to take the stand.
Do we have any predictions on what the sentencing could be? Because they're saying up to 25 years, and then someone else says, yeah, but most people don't go to jail for this is their first felony, and it's just a paperwork thing. And what do you think?
I think he could go up to I would be surprised if it was over 18 months. You go by what's called the federal sentencing guidelines with the federal courts. He was set to not get anything at all. He was going to take a slap on the wrist for the tax issue. And this was going to be kind of wrapped up in there. And the judge, I think everybody remembers, rejected that. So that the government wasn't even going to do anything about this. Now, on the federal sentencing guidelines, because he's not had any history, because, I mean, it's just the guidelines, you score points. It's like a big matrix. It's confusing, and it's wonderful and awful at the same time. But he's going to fall probably around a year, maybe 6 months, maybe 18 months, maybe probation, but probably not. So that's where he's looking.
Wait, when you say 18 months, you mean in prison?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Wow.
I mean, that sucks. I mean, it's not as bad as 25 years. I mean, but 18 months would probably ruin a lot of people's day.
Mine included. Does this have any bearing or effect on the other crimes that we've all just seen hours and hours of video of?
With Hunter Biden, I mean, probably not. I think that everybody was I think a lot of folks are watching this kind of thinking that there's going to be a real big scintillating break and this and that. All the news, I mean, and really, I mean, the most famous witness in the case is the laptop, right? So the laptop made an appearance, just to kind of prove up, well, here's these guys trying to get drugs. But the authorities have been through that thing 80 million times. If there was something, I think, a little more meaty, if there was more meat on the bone, I think we would have seen it. Although we probably wouldn't have seen it in this case because, I mean, the judge would be like, look, this is a drug case, and if embezzling money some other way, some other whatever. I mean, if he's doing something else weird, I don't know how that's relevant here. So we probably wouldn't hear it anyway. But, just another reason to keep the guy off the stand.
Well, how bad does this look for the FBI? Because as a layman here, I'm seeing a laptop that they sat on for an entire year because they didn't find anything criminal about it. Now it's being used as like Exhibit A in a criminal trial. Of course, there was some criminality on it. So the FBI sort of discredited themselves by affirming the laptop in this case.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this much. I don't pretend to be an expert on the laptop other than as it relates to this case. My understanding is that you have what's called a chain of custody issue, which basically the computer was in a third party's hands for more than a minute, right? Enough for lawyers to say, well, we don't know if you put that there. And what the courts say is they say that goes to what's called weight and not admissibility. In other words, okay, if this thing sat in a room with other people who we don't know exactly who they are for a day, you can argue that to the jury. You can, but the laptop's coming in. The evidence is coming in. You can't keep it out for that reason. But you can argue that it's sort of diminished. I know there was a big issue with that. And I mean, I don't know that this is what everybody was getting excited about. Was this as evidence of that he's a drug user? I mean, and the feds really kind of ran up the score here. It's so much so that if they lose this case, it's because they made themselves the bad guys and they came off as bullies, beating up on some dude who's trying to recover from an addiction.
Some poor little crackhead. So. I think the series that I keep hearing over and over and over is most people aren't that concerned with the gun charge or the crack or even the prostitution. We're concerned about the millions of dollars that have been buying influence. He's just a conduit to buying influence from his dad. Does that weigh into this at all, or does the laptop being confirmed weigh into that at all?
I think if there was anything there, I think you'd have seen it by now. So I don't know that weighs in here. To answer your question, I mean, they got him on $100,000. I think it was the tax bill that he didn't pay, and then I think he's paid since. But I mean, the offense is committed, right, when he doesn't pay. And then you've got all this other. Then you've got the laptop. You got the buying the weapon issue, and I mean the other things. I mean that's part of why I think we're all sort of drawn to the story, right? Is the laptop? It's all these other sort of connections which are kind of there, but then we hear this and we read that, and then we don't see it really come to fruition. I think that's kind of the hope. That I think that everybody's sort of sitting on the sideline and watching, and they're waiting for this thing to kind of go off the rails, right? And then we do get maybe some insight there, or we do get something juicier than just a gun case. But it's a gun case, and and look, I mean, as a lawyer, as a prosecutor, you can lose this. I mean, you can screw this thing up. I mean. And you do it by running up the score. You got the Biden family in the front row. Maybe the jury likes them. Maybe they don't. Maybe there's alligator tears. Maybe there's real tears. But you beat up on a guy enough, and a jury might say, okay, we get it enough. Quit humiliating the guy.
Right. Because you're also doing it in the most Biden sympathetic venue possible on planet Earth with Jill Biden sitting in the front row taking notes. That's not intimidating at all.
I mean, look, you're a lot of times as a lawyer, I mean, we fight and we wrestle over note 38, or was the car blue, was the car red, was the street wet, was it dry? And then after you have a knockdown, drag out trial, the first thing out of the juror's mouth is, who is the lady in the front row, right? And as a lawyer, you're like, oh my gosh, wait, what? Huh? And that stuff matters, who's in the front row, who's watching, the family members. Jurors are really, really attentive to that kind of stuff, and there's a definite emotional quotient. And I would say what the prosecutors did here, which I think was very effective, is you got to make the gun dangerous, and you've got to make this offense mean something, right? Okay, so it's a technical charge, and you got a guy who everybody's heard something about on the jury. But why is it that it's an offense? Why is it a federal offense to lie on this form? Well, because we don't, weapons are for self-defense. They're for responsible gun owners. They're not so you can go score crack. That's not what a weapon's for. And that's why this is a crime. And the prosecutors did their best to kind of to go there, right? To go, right. Well, look, he's buying the ammunition he's buying. This is consistent with drug deals. This is not consistent with defending your house. So that's kind of how you counterbalance all that sympathy.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy Rosenthal. You can find him at texasdefensefirm.com. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, James. Bye-bye.
All right, your thoughts, 800-288-WBAP. The Hunter Biden jury is now in deliberations. They're closed for the day. They will continue in the morning. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you. Do you think he's going to get convicted on this, or do you think this is all just a show and they're going to give him a slap on the wrist and say, see, well, this isn't an unequal justice system. We're not just going after Trump. 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Oh, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, the big update that happened since the James Show started is the Hunter Biden trial has concluded. Everyone said what they're going to say, and the jury's in deliberations. The trial is done for the day. The jury will continue deliberating in the morning. Is there any chance this guy is found guilty? If he is found guilty, he's just going to get a slap on the wrist. Is this really just a thinly veiled cover for the fact that they are persecuting and prosecuting Trump and the J6 political prisoners willy-nilly, while this guy can go around on a one-man narcos crime spree for decades unpunished? 800-288-WBAP. This is Jared and Sherman. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. What do you think?
James, how's it going?
It's going great, Jared.
I just had an interesting thought. How this guy's been able to just skate free, doing whatever he likes. Why now? It seems like an opportunity for the left to use this as the, hey, look how easy it is for even drug offenders to get weapons, and then use that as a tool to infringe even further on gun rights and availability to purchase a weapon.
I don't see that. I don't see this as a chance to make an anti-drug score. I mean, anti-gun score. I said it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. It just seems a good way to defer attention, I suppose.
Well, the defer attention, I totally agree with. You're absolutely right on that, because this guy has a volcano of crime around him, and they're going after what? The one that people care about probably the least. Because, it's not like he took that gun and he went out and committed crimes with it. This is still a victimless crime. I'm not even sure if that law should, in fact, I don't think that law should exist, where are you an addict while you're filling out the gun form? I understand why people think it's a good idea. I don't. However, I'm far more concerned about the millions of dollars he's getting from Ukraine. And now we're in a war on Ukraine's side against Russia. I think that's huge. I think the fact that they have sent the Biden family tens of millions of dollars and they've gotten back hundreds of billions of dollars, that's worth investigating. That's worth the FBI's time. And the FBI, what did they send, like a crew of 4 agents to go investigate Bubba Wallace's garage pull string, but they don't have the time to go dig into what is obvious influence peddling. Obvious bribes are happening here. Obviously, this dude sold out the country for millions of dollars, and they don't seem to care. That's my problem.
100% agree. Wouldn't surprise me a bit if they try to use what I had mentioned as just a distraction tool to.
And it's explained, and that explains the timing, because this guy has been committing crimes for the 56 years of his life, is what it sounds like. So why now? Well, when they're ramping up all of these 4 charges against Trump in 4 different jurisdictions and 4 different courtrooms, and the J6 prisoners, some of them are just now getting out. There's a few that are still held, and there was legit criticism to be had. It's like, hang on, man. The Department of Justice is clearly operating with the political bias. This is just something where they can say, no, we're not. See, we went after Hunter.
100% agree.
Why doesn't everyone see it then, Jared?
I don't know.
They don't want to.
I don't know.
They've been convinced that Orange Man is Hitler. And once you've convinced people of absurdities, you can get them to commit atrocities. Coming up next, we'll talk with Steve Lamb. Mavericks are down 2-0. Does that mean it's all over but the crying? That's next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.